You know, I'm a great believer in education through travel. I remember my official midlife crisis. I took a year and a half off and went around the world. And, well, my next guest, I think, is a kindred spirit. Meet author Teresa Rodriguez, author of her book, Mind, Body, Solo, 7 Tips to Conquering the World Alone. Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me, David.
Now, you're not old enough to have a midlife crisis,
right?
but it's...
I've had a few.
No. But, you know, I love the blurb. San Francisco, meet an Australian surfer, decide he's gorgeous, which I guess he was. Yeah, I mean, right?
Right.
And you follow him to Australia, you leave the surfer behind and travel the world to get over it.
I do. So we got married, because that was the way to get to Australia, was to get married at those days. So got married, went to Australia, which is a beautiful country, didn't know anybody, and wanted to come back to plan the big white wedding, and that's when he broke my heart and ended up in therapy. And, you know.
You in therapy or him?
I was in therapy.
Men are pigs.
Right? Well, no, they're not all pigs. There's a chapter about that. And, you know, really, I was told by my doctor, you know, Teresa, you're going to have to go into inpatient care. Instead of inpatient care, I took the money and went around the world by myself.
Now, how scary was that? I mean, I went around the world by myself, but let's be frank, it's easier for a man to do it than a woman.
Yeah, and I think really that's the reason I wrote the book, because I really want women to find first where they want to go and why they want to go to that place, and then research that place. I think so many times we just fall into our destinations not because of what we want, but what other people want. So really that's what I try to do here, is teach people what they want.
Yeah, now you don't strike me as someone who has a problem figuring out what they want. I mean, you wanted that surfer, so off to Australia, and then you wanted to travel the world, so you went and did it.
Right.
But I imagine there are countries that are more difficult than others for a single woman to visit.
And that's the truth. And, you know, that's one of the chapters is called Be Wise. And it really is to do the research before you depart. There are, unfortunately, countries that don't like women.
So let's talk, Saudi Arabia.
Right, and they don't respect, you know, freedom of sexuality. And so what I really want people to do before they travel is to research the destination. What is the climate before they book that airline ticket?
So now you wrote this as a single woman,
yes.
But are there lessons here for the LGBT community as well?
Completely, and this is not just for single women or married women or any specific community. It's the art of being alone. It's actually finding your own space in this big wide world and finding it through solo travel. It's basically using travel for therapy.
Right. Now, you've traveled a lot. Do you now like to travel with people, or do you still like to travel alone?
Oh, are you kidding me? Anytime I can be alone, I'm totally by myself. I have a daughter who's 2. I'm a single mom. I was married for 12 years. So I basically have done every type of lifestyle that you can possibly have.
Yeah.
And the truth is my favorite thing to do is to get on a plane by myself. The possibilities are endless, because I can be who I want to be. I can talk to whom I want to talk with. I can eat where I want to eat. I can sleep in if I want to sleep in. Really, I can go at my own pace.
Are you a Scorpio?
I am an Aquarian.
Ah, so they're kind of like solo too. I mean, you know, hippy-dippy.
Right.
I mean, is this part travel guide, part kind of spiritual exploration?
It's exactly, and that's the last chapter. It's called Be Soulful. It's really about using your experience to change yourself, see the world in a different perspective. Because I think when we travel outside of ourselves, regardless if it's just down the street or to another country, we get an opportunity to see a perspective that we didn't have before our departure.
Now, how old is your daughter?
She's 2. She's going to be 2 next week.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
So do you see a time when maybe mother and daughter are going to travel together?
Yes, we actually just got back from Mexico together, and that is another type of travel which I do not address in this book, and really that's the travel with children, which is completely different.
You know, my husband Alfredo and I will get on a plane, or we take a cruise every year, and we'll see a family with some kids, and you know, daddy's got one strapped to the chest and the mother's changing the diaper, and we just look at him and go, God, there should be a statue to parents in every city in the world. How do you do it?
Right. The only baggage you guys have to worry about is your Louis Vuitton luggage.
Yeah, well, yeah, or the fake, you know, Hong Kong knockoff Louis Vuitton luggage. What do you think is the hardest part about traveling as a single woman around the world?
I think it's the baggage you have to leave, ironically enough, which is the baggage of your past, or the things that are bothering you, and the baggage of the future, which is all the things that are creating you anxiety, and really live in what Eckhart Tolle calls the present, in that delicious moment where you are really grounded to that place, wherever it might be in the world.
As a single woman, or I should say a woman solo traveling the world, you get hit on by really, guys that are just not so nice and...
I really think it's about how you carry yourself. And I really like to become a chameleon. So if I go to France, I put on the scarf and wear red lipstick. If I go to, if I go to Mexico, I wear my flip-flops and put my hair in a ponytail. So depending on
But
what
if you go to Morocco, do you put on the headscarf?
Exactly, and that's really in a chapter as well called Be Beautiful, which is really how to address where you're going and how you should dress. Depending on the destination that you go to, because it's that confidence that you also have to exude. Don't ever show up in a place wearing a t-shirt and jeans and tennis shoes, regardless of wherever you're at.
Be respectful.
Be respectful of yourself as well, and of the destination.
Right. Now, you mentioned Eckhart Tolle, who's great. Talks about finding your bliss and whatnot. You sound like you found your bliss through travel, and not only have you written a book about it, you founded a very popular website. You've talked about it on national TV. You've been all over the place. Talk to me about TangoDiva.com.
So Tango Diva, I started before there was Facebook, and it really is a network for solo women travelers to go to if they want to find some other women who've been to the place, is going to the place, or lives in the place. So for example, if you're going to Miami and you want to see the other Tango Diva members there, you can do a search for them, and then it shows you how much participation they want to have with you, a cup of coffee, a glass of wine, dinner, or maybe a place to stay on their couch.
Do you think this is really an exploding market, women who want to travel solo?
I think the whole women finding their own voice is a exploding market. We're getting older, divorced, our kids are growing up. Women are making decisions on their own now that they weren't making 20 years ago, and that's fantastic to see.
In our last few minutes, tell me about what do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions about travel? For me, I'll admit that most people say, how do you travel so much? It's expensive. I'm like, travel doesn't have to be expensive. You just have to decide you're going to do it.
Right. I think that's one of them, because there's a lot of different websites that you can find great deals, and timing as well, going to shoulder months or flying into an airport that's not necessarily on the grid. But I think the biggest misconception is loneliness. People really feel like they're going to end up alone, or they don't want to sit at a table by themselves. Then sit at a bar. Go to a cafe, a bistro. There's so many different ways to not be alone, and you'll be surprised, I promise. You'll meet the most amazing people on your journeys.
We've just got about 30 seconds left. If you can, tell me your favorite travel experience solo.
Oh my goodness, that would be in Phuket, in a swimming pool alone, eating, I had a glass of champagne on one end and a mango on the other, and so I would swim and take a sip of champagne, and I would swim and take a bite of mango.
And what made that just like the perfect moment? Because I can see you describing it, that you can see it right now.
I was alone, naked in my own little pool, and a thunderstorm was coming in, and it was just like all the elements of the world. It
sounds beautiful. Wow, naked with a mango and champagne in Thailand.
Right?
Doesn't get much better than that.
Does it?
We've been speaking to Teresa Rodriguez about traveling the world solo. I'm David Perry. I'm glad you're watching us on 10%. We'll see you next week.